died for 30 whole minutes. I was in a coma for a month. They never thought I would ever survive.
Profound words from 19-year-old George Cairney. 2 years ago, he was in a drink-driving accident that nearly cost him his life.
When George first had his accident, none of us really knew what to expect. I mean, the first part of it was just the fact that George was alive was so amazing, and we were so happy about it and had no idea at that time about what George was going to be. We kept being told that it was going to be a life-changing experience for all of us, but we had no real understanding of what that would mean.
George was a high achiever on the brink of leaving school. Popular and good-looking, he excelled at everything. George played basketball, he rode, and was admired by his friends and siblings. Life was sweet, and he figured he was invincible. But every plan George had and every dream was wiped out on the night of that accident. It was a classic cocktail of excessive drinking and speed. 4 teenagers in a car on the way to yet another party. A night that George's life changed forever.
I was a bit of a alkie. I like showing up and getting drunk. I said this every weekend. Party!
It was 3 weeks before his final exams. He'd been studying all day and wasn't planning on heading out that night. When a text came through late evening, he changed his mind. He headed to a party, dropped by a couple of bars and slugged on a bottle of vodka. Just hours later, George and his drunken teenage mates were in a car that was skidding towards a brick wall.
The next thing, it was 1:30 in the morning and the doorbell rang and it was the police. And the police said to me, he's category 1, you need to get there really quickly. He had an operation to have his spleen removed immediately, and the next 2 days we were just told they needed to wait and see and would make an assessment as to whether they would let him live.
Penny maintained an anxious bedside vigil that went on for a month. George's head injury was so severe, no one was sure if he'd live or die.
And I went up to the hospital every day and just sat with him and read to him. Just tried to be there and hope that maybe he heard a little bit of the love that I was giving to him to help him through.
When he finally came out of the coma, he awoke dazed, confused, and a very different George.
I said not a good word when I woke up. I said the F word, and then who are you to my own mum, who was hugging, kissing me, saying how much she loved me. And I really regret that.
Substantial brain damage meant George was no longer the bright, capable, sporty George everyone knew before the accident. He couldn't walk, his speech was affected, and he had no concept of how the world worked. He's 19 now, but has a mental age of someone much younger. He behaves, talks and moves like a child and has little concept of social niceties.
So socialising for George is really hard work. It's going back to learning now, learning from scratch as to a lot of what's socially appropriate. And so he's very childlike in many ways for a lot of the things, his understanding of how people communicate. And I think he also finds it quite difficult to read people because he can't see very well. So the sight, his loss of sight was a result of that frontal lobe injury and damage to the optic chiasm.
This left eye, I can only see a tiny bit out of the right-hand side of my eye, and my right-hand eye is horrible too, but just a little bit better. So I can see the camera, I can see it. And my left ear is deaf, 100% deaf. My right ear is bad. My nose can't smell. Normally I say good round my brothers, but this isn't the point to say that. And the left-hand side of my mouth can't taste. I feel more than you do, including temperature. If it's a little bit cold, I feel really cold, and if it's a little bit hot, I feel boiling. I had a lot of my head missing, and they took fat out of my stomach, mixed it with titanium, and they put it there. Plastic surgery, sure, but I'd rather look like that instead of you seeing my brain pulsing. But it does come with a lot of disadvantages, such as mental fatigue. I get very tired very easily. I go for a 5-minute walk, I have to go to sleep pretty much.
George's mates are all now at university, out flatting and still partying on the weekends. 2 years on, and George's world revolves around rehabilitation and rest.
I have a physiotherapist, and she's helping me a lot to maintain energy during the day. And I take half an hour to an hour rest every day at around about midday. So I'm planning on just going out after midday and then staying out till midnight.
Brain injury often results in a change of personality. George has developed a childlike nature and a knack for telling jokes. Only he can't quite figure out whether they're funny or not.
I love the jokes. I tell jokes every single day. And I like having fun. It's the best joke in the world, in my view, but everyone else doesn't like it. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Ipe.
Ipe. Who?
You poo. Don't tell me that.
Ah, no.
Since the accident, George has needed round-the-clock care. His mum, Penny, quit her job and was taking care of him pretty much full-time. But she realised she couldn't keep it up alone. The family hired Dave, who works with George 4 days a week. George's friends don't bother to come around much anymore. Without Dave, he'd be isolated.
I mean, when I first met George at the at Laura Ferguson Rehab Centre, I did not think he was one of the, the clients or, patients or whatever, because he just didn't look like any of the rest. He looked like a normal guy. In fact, I first met him, he was walking around the rehab centre offering people tea bags and playing practical jokes on people, and I thought, this guy's been a little bit mean. And then I was introduced to him as George, and he was the guy that I was supposed to be looking after. And I was like, oh, wow, because he presents so well.
I thought we weren't allowed to have those anymore.
That's my speech.
Come on, George Cairney.
Swish. Easy.
My responsibilities are basically looking after George, caring for George, reinforcing the things that he's learning. And, like he's learning things in theory with his with the sessions, the therapy sessions he's doing. I'm just there to basically act as the help him with the different social cues and social filters and the debriefs, take him here, there, and out and about where he needs to be going, and basically working as a life coach in many ways.
Yeah, it's good.
George's rehabilitation involves retraining him in a wide range of things he once knew instinctively, teaching him about the supermarket and about money. Several months ago, it was all pretty confusing, but George has made incredible progress.
Yeah.
So,
To me, it looked like you were doing a pretty good job. You were scanning really quickly, and then you went, boom, there's the mints.
yeah, well,
How'd you do
I
that?
can see that there's lots of little pieces of meat, and here there's just, over there's one big piece of meat.
Yeah.
Whereas mince is obviously thousands of little pieces because it's mashed up.
Yeah.
So I knew it would be around this section.
Okay. So you've committed everything to memory.
Yeah. Memory is one of the most important parts of your brain because you can develop your person, your skills, and who you are.
So Dave, this is not just about shopping, is it? This is about life skills.
It is, absolutely, yeah. That's why I like to hang back in situations like this and really let George drive it, because it's important that he's learning these kind of things for himself and not just always relying on aid, and other people helping him. So it's a big part of him growing towards that independent place where he wants to be, He's got big goals, so that's all part of it.
I'm just
constantly finding myself saying to him, "Oh, this smells really great," or "Look at that over there," or whatever, and then he has to remind me that he can't see that or he can't hear that, and I forget, because when you're with him half the time, he just doesn't come across that way. So yeah, I'm constantly blown away by how well he has adapted and does with what he's got.
As George progresses, Dave comes up with new exercises and challenges. Right now, he's learning lawn bowls. George's sight was so damaged in the accident that he sees very little.
Hey, so George, how do you know where the jack is? I mean, can you see it?
No.
You can't see it? So how do you know?
I know it's centered, and I know it's a lot, like, just beside the end, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I can tell just whereabouts it is, and I can tell that that one was too far, and I know how much weight to put on it next time.
George decides to challenge the older gents to a friendly game.
Would you guys be interested in a game of bowls with us?
Just a couple of roll-ups, maybe.
Yeah, just a couple.
Oh yeah, well, they would, yeah. Well,
The old boys want to get to know their competition first.
you don't listen, you young guys.
They have no idea George has a major brain injury and is partially blind.
But what you can do is that's hot water and that'll come free. And there's heaps of sachet.
It's out of character. George seems nervous. But within a short time, George has charmed his bowling buddies. He delivers a joke that goes down well.
We all go to the other end, bit too heavy.
Yeah.
Life's carried on much the same for the other teenagers who are in the car with George the night of the accident. George has been stripped of virtually everything that made up his teenage world, including most of his friends and his girlfriend.
I had a girl who, well, I was pretty much with at the time of the accident. The split second the accident happened, do you know what happened? This is me. Chucked me away. Is it because I don't look as good? Oh well, I can find more understanding people.
So what are you doing? Are you getting counselling?
Yes, I'm getting therapeutic counselling, and I'm going to occupational therapy and such, yeah.
It's helping?
It's helping a lot. It's helping a whole lot. It makes me think in a better way. I'm almost sure that if I wasn't going to counselling, then I would be a lot worse state. Not just in my mind, I'd be a worse state physically as well.
George doesn't remember the accident or much at all about his 17th year. He doesn't like to talk about the past much, swinging the conversation back to his plans for the future. But he knows he's paid the price for getting in a car with a drunk driver.
Because it was fun being drunk with them instead of them dissing you because you were like a softie or some stupid thing like that. Yeah, but then again, what's the point of getting drunk if it's dangerous and you can't even remember it the next day?
In the moments when he thinks of the massive impact that alcohol has had, George feels compelled to tell others about the consequences of drink driving.
I have scars everywhere. There. Well, it hasn't made life good. So I plead you to take care in every single way on the road. It is unbelievably important for you, not your life, not just your life, for others and the way they live.